STORMCASTERS, lend me your eyes and ears, because your girl Ororo is dominating in video games right now. She is front and center in 4 different games, 2 that are out right now and 2 that are on their way. And this video is long overdue, so let's kick it off by looking at Storm in Marvel Rivals. This one is special. It's not just a video game, it's a fulfillment of prophecy, because I predicted in my very first video on this channel exactly how Storm would perform. After being severely underpowered on launch, the devs buffed her to absolute Omega Annihilator status, which is basically where she's been ever since. Not quite top picked and top banned, but still decimating enemies everywhere. At least that's what I've heard, because I actually haven't played Marvel Rivals yet because my graphics card is an undercooked potato. But that's beside the point.
Just keep going, just keep going.
Before looking at her abilities, we got to look at the visual design. And we got a lot to look at because she currently has 6 skins in this game. Her default costume is very modern superhero. Gives a sort of cyber enhanced armor vibe. Not quite my favorite flavor of Storm attire, but I do like the design overall. The white recolor is an obvious nod to the 90s white and gold bodysuit, which will always be a Storm staple. Her Wind Rider skin is ripped straight out of the current Ultimate Black Panther comics run, with only minor additions to the outfit, and it's my second favorite out of all of her outfits. Her 80s punk rock variant is also ripped straight out of the comic books, but I gotta give them even more props for how they did the mohawk, which is more like hair styled up into a mohawk with free hair and braids on the side instead of having a shaved head. Then there's a symbiote skin, which I think is a game original. It doesn't look like any of Storm's symbiote looks from the comics. Actually, it looks like more of a Spawn variant than anything else. Last but not least, there's the Asgardian Goddess of Thunder skin, and this may just be her most controversial skin to drop so far. Whether it's the color of the hair, the design of the armor, or the fact that it's Asgardian Storm at all, a lot of folks just aren't rocking with it. But your boy right here sure as hell is. Electrified Cloud Hair 10 out of 10, let's go! And hopefully one day soon, we'll get an Eternal Storm skin or a Black Vortex skin, or anything from her ongoing solo series. Also, real quick, I got to shout out them voice lines, delivered perfectly by Mara Juno. They're chock full of Easter eggs too, as you'd expect. Here's a couple of my personal favorites.
So, how do you like this new Wakanda?
If one more person asks me what it would be like to be Empress Consort, they're going to get a lightning bolt where the sun don't shine.
Can't focus with all the mess back home on my monroe.
In times such as these, Logan, we have to be able to walk and chew gum.
I remember when they patented chewing gum. Ugh, I'm getting too old for this.
Logan?
Well, well, the mutant goddess of Krakoa. It's been a while.
The ascension to godhood can be achieved by worship and belief. But you...
Oh, no. I'm an Asgardian, dear. I was born a god.
So,
The
you
battle
didn't
starts
earn
in
it,
5,
Mr. 1%.
4.
Now on to her playstyle and kit. Rivals did something really unexpected with Storm. They could have easily made her an average backline damage dealer. And make no mistake, Storm brings the damage from a comfortable range. Hell, they even gave her range basic attacks, which are literally shards of wind. But she's not just straight DPS. She's more of a DPS support hybrid. And that's all because her kit is all about buffing yourself and your team while debuffing the enemy. All of her moves are either buff-debuff moves that you can use for the whole team, or damage moves that are somehow augmented by the buff-debuff moves that are currently in place. She has one move, Weather Control, that grants her and her team movement speed buffs with wind or damage buffs with lightning. Then she has another one, Goddess Boost, that buffs that buff while also making the enemy move slower or take damage over time. And if that's not enough, she turns into a giant fuck you tornado with free reign to just wreak havoc on the battlefield. And there's more! She can combine her ult with other ults, like Human Torch or Jeff the Shark. because you can make a fire-nado or a shark-nado. Who said this girl wasn't damaged? I don't know, but to quote Major Payne, if he's still alive, he ain't happy. From modern hero shooter to retro arcade style beat 'em up, Storm will be front and center as part of the main roster for 2026's Cosmic Invasion, as Marvel superheroes battle Annihilus and his invading hordes. This dose of nostalgia on command is developed by Tribute Games, the same studio behind Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, a game that I actually played. Look at God. From what we've seen of her so far, we know that she can spawn stationary tornadoes and shoot swirling wind blasts across the screen. She has an electrified uppercut, a mid-air dash attack that looks kinda like a slow Psycho Crusher, and of course she has a screen wipe move, where she strikes the ground in multiple places with a lightning attack, while striking a pose at the same time. The moves are nothing we haven't seen from Storm in gaming before, but I'll give them points for execution, if not for innovation. Her sprite is also stripped right out of the 90s comics and her old Capcom Marvel games. Tribute Games always do a phenomenal job on their sprites and special moves, and I expect nothing less for our Weather Witch. Let's slow down with something more tactical with the mobile RPG game Mystic Mayhem. Storm takes her place in this crazy diverse cast, rocking what looks like a hyper fantasy take on one of her latest outfits. I don't hate it, but I have words. First of all, the MCU influence is in full effect with all these damn lines going every which way. I do like the silver and gold lightning bolts wrapping around her though, but the random UFOs on her wrist for the cape are just way too much. Same with these pink accents on the cape, in the chest piece, and in her makeup. It's doing a lot. I want to like it, but more than anything else, it's just too damn busy.
This is too busy. This is all too busy! By the time you read it, you're dead!
Not unlike Marvel Rivals, Storm's kit is all about debuffing enemies with different weather effects while doing damage. Lots of area of effect moves with status effects to boot. To get the most out of Storm's kit, you're gonna have to build the right items, known in game as artifacts, and pair her with the right allies. Again, very similar to Marvel Rivals, but instead of direct combat, it's all team-based, so you get to sit and plan your moves out perfectly. But I really do like the way this game captures the more careful and methodical approach to combat with Storm, because that's just peak Storm in my opinion. But all the tactical goodness in the world cannot assuage my disappointment in this game's lack of mysticism in Storm's kit. I mean, it's literally in the game's name, but we don't get any magic. No buffs from patron gods or ancestors, no augmenting elements with spells, nothing at all. I just think it was a major missed opportunity. But from missed opportunity, we got the champion of opportunities, cause it's time to talk about Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. And that is the last time you will hear me say that whole title in this video. In a post-Marvel vs. Capcom world, Marvel Tokon is stepping up to carve out its own space in the Marvel fighting game legend. Coming to us by way of Arcsystem Works, the same studio behind Blaze Blue, Guilty Gear, and Dragon Ball FighterZ, the latter of which I played the hell out of, and let me tell you, Arcsys does not mess around. They perfectly adapted every Dragon Ball character in their roster's look and feel, while providing some very satisfying gameplay on its own. And I bet it'll be the same way with Tokon. We just had a closed beta weekend. Shout out to everyone who got to spend some quality time with all these characters. Now the world has some extra crispy footage of all this Japanese Marvel goodness. And we're obviously gonna focus on the Weather Witch. Speaking of whom, look at her. Arcsystem understood the assignment and gave us a Storm that is delicious. She is anime as hell and accurate all at once. Deep, dark chocolate brown skin with icy blue eyes, toned muscly arms, and thighs that could challenge Chun-Li. The hair has so much volume, you almost forget that it's straight. They even lightened the palms of her hands. I guess Arcsys had to make up for the last couple times that Japan got their hands on Storm.
The fuck is that?
It's okay, Japan. We forgive you. The outfit kinda looks like a combination of her OG Weather Witch outfit and a wrestler in WWE. Maybe that's a nod to Jade Cargill since she loves cosplaying Storm so much. So far we've seen it in 2 colors, gray and black, and you know I'm picking up that black one. They even gave her the tiara. She almost never has her headpiece in video games. But the coup de grace of crispiness comes in them fighting moves. The lightning charged hand thrust, the command grab that freezes enemies solid, the wind infused colossal kicks. For one of her moves, she just jumps at you while surrounded by wild wind. Her ult, Eye of the Storm, has as many moving parts as arcsys can fit into an ult. First, she stuns you with electricity. Then her wind hurls you into the air while she floats up behind you. Then we go inside the tornado where she bombards you with arctic cold, turning you into a giant ice boulder.
But wait! There's more!
She finishes it off by spiking you with a giant ball of pure lightning energy, creating an explosion of bolts, sparks, and shards of ice. Again, if he's still in there, he ain't happy. At some point next year, we will have 4 active video games where you can play Storm that all offer such different, unique experiences that you will literally feel like you're playing different characters. But all of these games do share one setback, one little nitpick that I have as a diehard Storm fan. More limited elements. Marvel Rivals probably being the worst offender on this list. They only gave her wind and lightning, not even ice or rain. Now obviously, a lot of this comes down to the type of games that she's in. None of the game types that we've examined here today are the type of places to really flex with a diverse power set to get into the nooks and crannies of said power set. But Storm's powers are as diverse and versatile that you can possibly ask for. Trying to cram all of these elements into a single character in a game with tight restrictions on what characters can do is not likely to happen. Granted, each game does have a way to kinda get into the weeds, even if the powers themselves are relatively basic. To get deeper than that though, you'd probably have to go into the multiple forms route, kinda like how Dragon Ball FighterZ did with Goku, or how every game does with Goku. So you could have base form Storm, for example, and then you could have, say, Eternal Storm or Black Vortex Storm as a completely separate character. And those forms are different enough to allow her to have a completely different vibe, completely different moves, everything. Going back to the Rivals route real quick, they could have made her a full-blown stance switcher. Instead of her having a traditional ult, her ultimate would be changing between the different elemental forms. That way, even if they wanted to stick with the standard wind, lightning, and ice, all 3 of her normal abilities would change depending on whatever stance she's in. In fact, every time she changes to a different elemental stance, it could cause some type of status effect plus damage. So every time you change stances, it would do damage and knock them back if you're going to wind, or damage and stun them if she's going into lightning form. So really, she'd have 12 abilities.
But wait, there's more!
Ability 1 could just be damage. Ability 2 could be crowd control with some damage on it as well. And ability 3 could be more of a utility move that she could use to buff the team. If you're thinking this sounds a whole lot like Merlin from Smite, you're correct. It is literally Merlin from Smite. Or better yet, Hell or Artio from the same game. Since those characters have a lot of utility mixed into their kit as well as damage, and Merlin is just pure mage damage. And honestly, the truest answer is really for Marvel to quit playing with our emotions and give us a Storm-focused action RPG. One with skill trees for each element so we can get the full Storm experience. Maybe then we can finally progress beyond 3 weather elements. Comment below and let me know how you feel about Storm's video game takeover. And after that, you already know, click this video right here to get more Weather Witch goddessness in your life. And until next time, keep calm and keep simping.